Hey everyone, this is Mr. Zach and welcome to our online children ministry program at Chinese Christian Union Church. During these past few months, we have been learning about Jesus, of who he is and what he has done on earth. These next few months, we are going to transition into finding out the answer to this question. Who is God? And we'll start by answering this question by learning from our main point today that God is real. Okay? So, let's begin. If you had to prove to me that your parents were real people, how would you guys make me believe it? I'll give you guys 10 seconds to think about it, and then I'll give you guys some ways that I would prove to you guys that my parents are real. Okay? So, 10 seconds. Okay, so hopefully you all have thought of some ways to prove to me that your parents are real people. But here, let me share what I came up with and to see if you guys have the same things that I have, okay? I think the easiest way is to just show them. Bring your parents right in front of them in person. Of course, we can't really do that right now because of the state of the world, but that would probably be the easiest way because you will be able to see them, you can touch them, and you can also hear them as well. It would be pretty easy to prove that someone was real if they were right in front of you, right? But how would you guys prove that someone was real if you were not able to hear them, touch, or even see them? It may seem like that is kind of hard, and it may seem like that is kind of like God as well, as many people think that they cannot hear him, touch him, or even see God. And thus, many people think God is not real. But let me tell you, God is real. And though we can't see him, hear him, or touch him, like the ways we do with our parents, today we will look at an encounter Moses had with God and search for evidence that God is real. Let's look in the Bible on how Moses was able to hear, touch, and see God, and know that God is real. It all started when Moses saw a bush that was on fire, but it wasn't burning up. As Moses got closer to check on it, this is what he heard in Exodus chapter 3, verses 4 to 6. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." And Moses said, "Here I am." "Do not come any closer," God said. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Then he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. How did this show God is real? Not only did Moses hear God say his name, plus identifying and telling himself as God, God went on to tell Moses a lot of other things as well. He told Moses he was going to rescue the people of Israel out of Egypt, where they were slaves. He also told Moses that he would give the people of Israel a new place to live with plenty of food. He gave Moses specific instructions on what to do. Let's see what it would be like to hear God speak that clearly, just like how Moses heard God clearly. I want you all to close your eyes and to listen what I tell you to do, okay? So close your eyes, okay? So while your eyes are closed, listen carefully to what I want you guys to do, okay? Raise your right hand in the air, and then raise your left hand in the air. After you raise both hands in the air, wave them side to side. Okay, so now great job, you guys can open your eyes, okay? So just from that tiny example, I'm sure you were all able to understand and be able to hear clearly of what I said for you guys to do and how clearly Moses probably heard from God as well. But let's compare to how well we hear God today. Sometimes it's hard to hear God the same way we hear human voices. In fact, you may even start to wonder if God is real because you never heard him speak to you that clearly. But we just saw from the Bible, which is true, that God can speak to us clearly as what we just did. Plus, God still speaks clearly today. It might not always be a voice we can hear, but God speaks to us through the Bible, through other people, through what we feel and sense in our hearts as well, and through also His creation as well. We know God is real because Moses heard Him in the Bible, and we can listen for Him today as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about another sign we went over showing someone is real and that we could touch them. We can't touch God, but God did ask Moses to partner with Him to do the work of freeing people from slavery, in which God said in Exodus chapter 3 verses 8 to 10. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptian and to bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites have reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Let me give you guys some background information. Moses didn't really want to partner with God. The job seemed too hard for him, and he didn't really have a lot of confidence in his ability to lead the people out of Egypt. But God had chosen Moses to be his leader, and though Moses didn't get to touch God, he did get to work with God, and that's almost the same thing as touching Him. So let's see how well you guys can work with a partner. You guys will need a partner for this, so let me explain the directions, and then you guys can go pause the video and do what I asked you guys to do, okay? So what I need you all to do with your partner is to link arms together and then take turns leading each other across the room while one person has their eyes closed, okay? So do be careful and pause the video now if you would like to do this activity with your partner, and we will be moving on right now. I'm sure working with your partner was all sorts of things, fun, hard, difficult, and many other things and feelings as well. But though we can't touch God, we can work with Him and do important works like telling people about Jesus or showing His love to people around us. When we do God's work, we often feel His power working through us, and that's the one way that we can partner with God and link together with Him, just like how we link together with our partners in this activity. Now, let's talk about the third sign we went over showing someone is real, which is by seeing them. I'm sure you guys looked around anywhere from your house, outside, anywhere really, you wouldn't probably see God. But let's look for visual evidence of God in Moses' story. While I read, I'll give you guys some visuals so you guys could see them as well. Or maybe see them how maybe Moses kind of saw them a little bit, okay? So, let's go. There was the burning bush in chapter 3, verses 1 to 3. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. There was the snake staff in chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. Moses answered, What if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, The Lord do not appear to you? Then the Lord said to him, What is that in your hand? A staff, he replied. The Lord said, Throw it on the ground. Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. Then the Lord said to him, Reach out your hand and take it by the tail. So Moses reached out and took hold of the stake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. This, said the Lord, is this so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Next is the bloody water in chapter 4, verses 8 to 9. Then the Lord said, if they do not believe you or pay attention to the first sight, they may believe the second. But if they do not believe these two signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the river will become blood on the ground. From all those examples, we can see that God is real. Moses didn't see God himself in today's lesson, but Moses sure saw a lot of miracles that prove God is real. And though I made some silly imitations of those signs, they were nowhere near as amazing as the real signs from our real God. But there are times where we see evidence that God is real in the work around us by what God does in the world, but also in our daily lives as well. So today we learn that Moses got to the burning bush where he saw a sign that God is real. Then he heard God and had a whole conversation with him about how to set the Israelites free from slavery. Then God gave him even more visual ways to prove that he is real from the miracles, from the other signs as well. And after all that, Moses went on to partner with God to do something amazing for the Israelites, of saving them from the Egyptians from slavery. It seems like Moses was interacting with a real person, like how we would interact with someone today in real life. And that's because God is real, and Moses was interacting with a real person. And we can interact with God like how we interact with people today, by hearing God, touching or partnering with God, and also just seeing God of the many signs that he does. So let this lesson remind you guys this week that God is real and is with you always when you come to believe and know him. Okay? So see you guys around.